So there's a priest, an evangelist, and a minister. And they were in this rowboat. And they were fishing all day long. No luck. No luck at all. So finally the evangelist stands up and he says, you know what, I need to use the men's room. So he climbs out of the boat, walks on the water to the shore, comes back a few minutes later the same way. Well, then the minister decides he needs to go use the men's room, so he gets out of the boat, walks on the water, goes to the shore, takes care of business, comes back the same way. Well, the priest looked at both of them and he decided that his faith is every bit as strong as theirs. So he gets out of the boat, big splash, falls in the water. The evangelist looked at the minister and he said, I suppose we should have told him about the rocks. Anyway. So, that Nathan's reading, I love Chopra's title to that reading. Coincidences are clues from the universe. That is so cool. And the truth is, yes, they are clues when we pay attention. If we look at them and question, what does that mean? What is that? What's in there for me to know or to understand? Coincidences come in our lives from every which way. Sometimes we notice them and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we notice them after the fact. Once we put everything together, right? We've all probably had that experience. I was reading something and, there is a poll for everything, by the way. So I was reading this poll and this poll asked people if they'd ever had a direct experience of the presence of God. And about a third of the people said yes, they had. Thought that was interesting. Then they asked another group of people about, have you ever seen auras or light around people? And about the same amount of people said yes to that as well. However, when someone had a premonition or telepathic moment or a glimpse into the future, for some reason, those things didn't really have the same impact as those previous two things. It was kind of just shoved aside and blown off. And I found that interesting, and I found it interesting because we all have the ability to feel, see, hear, and know Spirit, God, right? That presence. Each thing that we experience doesn't necessarily have to have a larger meaning. However, it does point to a deeper layer of reality. All of those experiences are actually aspects of ourselves, things that we have within us. And we can start to bring them together and in that way, bring together a new reality for us, that synchrodestiny, as Chopra calls it. Knowing when we bring those things together that it is possible. Instead of us trusting that the everyday world is our reality and the only reality, why not learn to trust personal messages that the universe is trying to give to us? It's trying to share. When we experience a chance encounter or a coincidence or a feeling we can't quite explain, or when a moment stands out from the ordinary flow of our day, ask yourself if there's a message there for you. Ask yourself if Spirit is trying to communicate. Maybe it's something you need to pay attention to. Maybe life is trying to bring a new person into your life for help or to be a good friend, right? You don't need to dig for those answers. You just ask and the answer will always come. It comes when you're still. It comes when you're open to listening, and it comes sometimes when you least expect it. Truly, the easiest way to find out if that message has something in it for you is simply to ask and to listen and then take any action that might need to be taken. Wayne Dyer said, the word coincidence does not describe luck or mistakes. It describes that which fits together perfectly. I really like that. I love when people, circumstances, situations show up in our life unexpectedly. It's a lot of fun, right? You never know what's next. It's a good thing. And that is exactly how I got to be where I am today here at Common Ground. Years ago, someone I worked with kept telling me about this church that she went to. And I loved what she had to say. I was fascinated and intrigued, but I didn't go. I loved how she believed. I loved the way she thought. This new reality. And still I didn't go. Finally, she brought me a tape on a Monday morning of the Sunday service, which was for me, right? And I listened to that tape, and I listened to that tape, and I wore it out. And I didn't go. Right? Yeah. How naive can you be? Well, we spent a year and a half speaking about these new ideas for hours because I was so intrigued and fascinated. So a couple years later, seriously, a friend of mine passed away. And of course I wanted to go to his celebration for life. And guess what? You got it. It was at that church. And I remember after the service, I went up to the minister and I said, "Are you the minister here?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "All right, see you Sunday morning." And I never left, right? And then I just grew and expanded. I was hooked. How can you not be hooked when it's something that resonates with your soul? That was my first introduction to a non-traditional belief system, and it was okay. Before that time, I didn't realize it was. The universe, the point of the story is the universe was nudging me for how long to go in that direction. Now for me, sometimes it does take a 2x4. Other times it takes a brick wall, right? Eventually we get there. If a coincidence arises, especially again and again, don't ignore it. Look at it. Ask yourself, is there something in it for me? Is there a message? What's the significance? Ask the question, the answers come. Always. It may come as a sudden insight. It may come as an unexpected experience or a person just showing up out of nowhere, right? A chance encounter. You just never know how the universe is going to show up, what the universe is going to say to you and how. You never know what's in store. We are where we are by right of consciousness, each and every one of us. And it, for many of us, took years to be where we are, right here in this mindset, with this set of friends, our current set of circumstances. And if you look back on your life, you can kind of see where it started. And I say kind of because I thought, okay, it started here. Well, actually, no, right? I got here because it started here. And so basically what I'm saying is it starts from the time we think. And then we start making those choices and decisions. What I know for a fact is it's not by accident that we are all here together on this planet at this time in this spiritual community. I know that. It's an organized, intelligent universe. It doesn't make mistakes. And it brought us all together because we recognize the oneness in each other. I'm not saying that you didn't have a choice to be here. Not at all. We all have choice. We're all always a choice. However, somehow, through life, thought this would be a really good experience for you and me. And we decided, maybe so. And we agreed, right? We heeded the call. I love the catchphrase I use a lot, or what are the odds, right? When something crazy happens. Well, my oldest son, every time I say that, he'll go, well, Mom, if it happened, it's 100%. Right? Which really does take the fun out of it. But, you know, of course it's 100%. But what are the odds? Have you ever said that and you thought, gosh, that was a coincidence in my life? The truth is, though, coincidences happen all the time. We don't always recognize them. We don't always notice them. And this week I want to invite you to be mindfully aware of those things that happen in your life, of those coincidences. Write them down, and then days later or a week later or whatever, go back and look at them. Go back and read them. And you know what you're going to find after the fact? You're going to go, oh, that's what that was all about, right? Because sometimes things happen and you go, huh? And then it always has a reason, a meaning, always. Anonymous wrote this: a friend is not a coincidence in our life. They were a stranger meant to come into our life to bring us priceless lessons and memories. And isn't that the truth? Priceless lessons and memories. I know for me, over this past 10 years and some months, I've had a lot of incredible memories. And a tremendous amount of lessons too, by the way. Thank you for that. Because that's what we're here to do, right? Learn and grow together. It's said that synchronicity is a coincidence, is when a coincidence shifts the motion of your life. That's what synchronicity is. And coincidence is action in synchronicity. Synchronicity offers us that opportunity to look at our choices, to find out if we're on our best path for our highest good. And ultimately, synchronicity is when multiple occurrences focus our attention on a particular path, like it did for me. I don't know how much more clear that could have been that I needed to be at that church, right? But I wasn't paying attention. You might get a sign that run into somebody that resembles someone from your past, and you know you need to know that person. You need to connect. It could be an animal that shows itself as you're walking through nature, and that animal might have a particular meaning for you. It might be a song that you hear over and over and over in the same day or two. I think most of us have had that kind of experience. When those things happen, it's such a good idea to take a moment, listen for a deeper understanding, really pay attention to what that's saying to you. The universe wants you to notice something if it's happening again and again and again. And if it's calling us that loudly, it's most likely trying to lead us in a direction that will serve our soul at its highest level. I'm really curious, and I know a lot of people's stories. I'm curious if anyone was interested in sharing how they came to be at Common Ground, either by accident, by coincidence, by synchronicity. I think it was Bill and Susie, was it, with Lee and, yeah, we had Lee and Phyllis came here for years. They were such an integral part of our congregation, and they were getting ready to move. And they met Bill and Susie one time and said, oh, you have to go to Common Ground. And then they moved, and they'd never met them again. And that's how they came to be here. Don't you love how that happens? They needed that message from that one person that they had no idea who they were. And they're such a delight, and I wish we could see them more. But you don't know them. Oh, well, you guys are a delight too. Well, you are. You know I love the two of you. And so, anybody else want to share how they found us? The accident?
Wow.
Yes. It's just funny how we all come together. How'd you come? Just kidding. There. You know, we need a little bit of laughter, don't we, right now? Okay, even if it's silly. So there are infinite possibilities for how coincidences and synchronicity come to us, although Phyllis and Lee clearly have a really big part in it. Maybe it comes in the form of a song. Maybe you're in a period of your life where you're really frustrated, and then that song comes on and gives you that courage. Maybe you're walking in nature or down the street and a cool breeze comes across your face and reminds you to smile. Reminds you to be present and appreciate all you have in your life. I would just invite you to pay attention to each and all incidents. Look at it, hold it. Even if it doesn't have a particular message for you, the message is be present, be mindfully aware. Don't just simply dismiss a coincidence and let it just go off into the nothingness. Life, as we all know, is interconnected. And what we call unusual things are simply connections that surprise us, and they surprise us because we're used to seeing life in fragments, right? We're not used to seeing the whole picture, the flow of life, until and unless we stand back and go, oh, wow, look how all those things happened, right? And brought me to where I am. Give significance to those occurrences that continue, that keep showing up. When someone invites you to go somewhere a dozen times, maybe you ought to go. We're so accustomed to being bound by limited thoughts and limited feelings and experiences. We're so used to being in that state of separation. So let's see ourselves as part of the flow of life, as part of the center of an unfolding, expanding awareness. Let's see ourselves as part of that oneness, because we truly are. The real you, the essence of you, knows and understands far more than your limited self. So as we travel on our path, we come very frequently to forks in the road, right? We need to make a decision one way or the other. And sometimes when we make this decision, we feel like it's really altered the path that we were on. And guess what? That's okay, because there's never an absolute. Never. Because you make a decision today leading you in this direction, doesn't mean tomorrow you can change that direction. Doesn't mean you can't change that direction tomorrow and go back on that path you were headed on, if you choose to. It's always up to you. We're always, always and forever at choice. Wake up every day knowing that something surprising, exciting, and wonderful is going to happen for you. Know that. Expect the unexpected. And you know what? It will happen if you take the time to pay attention and notice. When you look past the drama, and when we look past that negativity that faces us, there is always, always, always at least one beautiful bright spot. Dwell on that bright spot. Make it your focal point. Let it light your way. Let it light your path for your entire day and into tomorrow. If you can do that, you will see that anything is infinitely possible. And you can experience what Chopra calls that synchrodestiny, in which it becomes possible to achieve the spontaneous fulfillment of your every desire. Thank you so much for being here this morning while I shared this truth as I understand it.